So the Daf Yomi for Shabbos is Chav Gimel. Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Iyar is Chav Gimel. So we're going to start with the Mishnah on the bottom of 23b. Arusa v'shomeres yavam lo shosos v'lo notlos kesuva. And Arusa, a woman who's betrothed, she's not yet fully married, and a shomeres yavam, the woman who's waiting for her yavam, her brother-in-law from her deceased husband to marry her, they don't drink the bitter waters, and it's based upon a verse. And v'lo notlos kesuva. They also do not take and collect the ksuba, as it states, asher tisteh. As it states in the verse, meaning to say they don't drink the bitter waters, but at the same time they don't collect the ksuba, because the verse states asher tisteh isha tachas isha, because this woman she went astray while she was married, which means pratla arusa v'shomeres yavam. This comes to exclude a case of a arusa, a betrothed, the shomeres yavam, a woman who's waiting for yibam, almana, a kohen gadol. So now the next category. The next category is almana, a kohen gadol, a widow who's married to a kohen gadol. They're not allowed to be married, and it's a prohibition, but the marriage is still valid. And grusha v'chalutza, and a divorcee to a regular kohen hedjot, mamzeres v'nesina Israel, or these are also prohibited marriages. The mamzeres and the nesina on top of chavtarim and av to Israel, ubas Israel mamzer, and a regular Israelite daughter of an Israelite to a mamzer or nasin. All these are prohibited marriages, so therefore they don't drink the bitter waters, and they also don't collect the ksuba. Ve'elu lo shosos v'lo nosos ksuba, and these are other categories of people who do not drink the bitter waters and also do not collect the ksuva. Almeres tmeani, a woman who says, I actually did commit the sin. And also, Shabaula Edim, she Tamea, or if witnesses come and say she committed the sin. So you don't need to give her the bitter waters. Halmeres Eini Shoseh, or the woman who says, I will not drink the bitter waters. Amar Bala, or the husband says, I'm not going to give you the bitter waters to drink. So in these cases, well, let me just go back a little. These are the women who don't drink or collect the ksuva. The woman who says that I'm tameya, the woman who says she committed the adultery, or if there are witnesses who came, and chased tameya. Or the woman who says I am not going to drink the bitter waters, but Amar Bala Eni Mashke, or let's say the husband says I'm not going to give her to drink, or Shabala Bala Badera, or if the husband had relations with her on the journey, which is prohibited. Or then under those circumstances, notos ksuba, she gets it to collect her ksuba, velo shosos, but she doesn't drink the bitter waters. Mesu ba'alei and achelo. So let's say their husbands died before they were able to drink the bitter waters. Beishamai omrim notos ksuva. Beishamai says under those circumstances, she gets to collect her ksuva, velo shosos, but she doesn't drink the bitter waters. Whereas Beis Hillel says, O shotos, o lo ksuvasim. Beis Hillel says that she either drinks the bitter waters or she doesn't collect her ksuva. Muberes chavero, umeinekes chavero, a woman who was pregnant from the previous marriage before he married her, umeinekes chavero, or she's still nursing from the previous marriage. These cases are prohibited. You're not allowed to marry a woman who was pregnant or is still nursing, because we were concerned that under those circumstances that she'll get pregnant again, and the second husband is not going to treat the first baby properly. Rashi says, the sages say you're not allowed to remarry. She's not allowed to remarry until the fetus becomes 2 years old, because that's the time where he nurses. And she went and she remarried, and he warns her not to drink, because under these circumstances, she doesn't drink the bitter waters and she doesn't get the ksuba, because it's not an appropriate marriage. That's the position of Rabbi Meir. Yachol hu afrisha ulachzira. He could separate from her until 24 months and then reconnect with her. So therefore, she is appropriate to be married. So therefore, she does. Therefore, the Chachamim are saying that since he could separate from her and then remarry her, therefore, under those circumstances, we're going to say she could drink the bitter waters. And Ilonis is a woman who you're not supposed to marry because it's very clear she's not going to give birth. And Izakena, this is an elderly woman that if a young person marries this older person, and again she's not able to she's not going to be able to have children. And also a girl is not able to give birth. Well, notos ksuba v'lo all these categories they are to collect ksuba, and they're not going to drink the bitter waters because this is not a marriage that the rabbis approved of. Rabbi Elazar says, "Yachol isa isha acheres Rabbi Elazar says he's able to marry a woman, and so therefore, even though this first woman he can't have children, it's still not a problem to be married to her because he can marry somebody else. Ushar kol nashim and all other women, o shotos, o lo notos ksuba. All other women, either they're going to drink the bitter waters or they're not going to be able to collect their ksuba. Ashes Kohen, the wife of a Kohen, Sotah, she drinks the bitter waters of Muteris Labala, and then she's going to be still allowed to return to her husband. So the Gemara is going to try and understand what's the chiddush in this. Okay, so now you can hear me. So the Gemara is going to discuss under these circumstances what's the chiddush. What's the chiddush here? So Ashes Kohen Shota Muteros Abala. Ashes Ris. This is the wife of a person who's castrated. Shota Ayadei Kol Shota. This person is the wife of a Ris is going to also drink the bitter waters. Ayadei Kol Arayos. So a person is allowed to warn his wife about all of the arayos, meaning to say all of his relatives who she's prohibited, he can warn her. Mikan, and the husband can warn her. And if she violates, she's going to be prohibited until she drinks the bitter waters. Chutzman Nakatan, he's not allowed to warn her with a minor. Also, he can't warn her against somebody who's not a human. Can't warn her against being with a human. These are the people who the courts warn them because the husband is not around. And the courts step up and warn them. Mishin is charish bawa, somebody whose husband is no longer of sound mind. Oshin ishtate, or became not of sound mind. Osha yochavish b'beis asur, or he was kidnapped. Lola ashkosa amro, they didn't say that he's permitted to Lola ashkosa amro. When the Bezdin warns her, it's not to make her drink, elaposa miksuvasa, but rather it's to make her disqualified from collecting her ksuva. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Afash Gosa, look, Shiyatza Balam Besa Asura and Yishkena. They said the court can make her drink because they say when the husband leaves the prison, they're going to make her drink. So now the Gemara says, Mishtu Dulo Shatya Akinoi Mekanila. So the Gemara says, well, you see in these cases, the Arusa and the Shomeres Yavam, they don't drink and they don't collect the ksuba. The Gemara infers they're not drinking, but they do warn her. They're allowed to warn her. And therefore, through the kinoi, she's going to be prohibited to him. And so we see from here that she doesn't drink, but she can be warned, and then they'll have to be divorced. So the Gemara says, what's the source for this? The Tanur Rabbanan, Daber Bnei Israel. It says, speak to the children of Israel, V'amarta aleim, and you shall say to them. And words V'amarta aleim are extra because it already says Daber Bnei Israel. So what do we learn from the words that Be'er B'nai Israel, that Marta Lehem, Rabbos Arusa Shemeres Yavam Lakino? It's to tell us that the Arusa, the betrothed woman, and the Shemeres Yavam, they do get warned. Umasnisim Mani, and our Mishnah says that you warn the Arusa and the Shemeres Yavam. Who's our Mishnah like? Rabbi Yonasan. This is Rabbi Yonasan. The Tanya Tachas Sheikh. It says, the Kohen says, because you committed adultery, Tachas Sheikh, Prata Arusa comes to exclude an Arusa who doesn't drink. Yachashani Motza Av Shomeres Yavam Tamalom or Ish. I might think also Shomeres Yavam doesn't drink. So the pasuk says Ish, meaning to say that comes to include a Shomeres Yavam. Rabbi Yonasan Omer Tachas Sheikh Prata Shomeres Yavam. Osi Shomeres Yavam Velotzias Arusa. I might think I'll exclude the Shomeres Yavam, but an Arusa would drink. Tamalomar Asher Tisteh. Isha Tachas Asher Tisteh Isha Tachas Isha. And so therefore it says only if she's married to her husband fully. Prat Arusa comes to exclude Arusa who doesn't drink the bitter waters. So the Gemara says, whereas Ma Rabbi Yonasan Ali Malay Arusa, he prefers the Arusa is considered like a complete wife. And so therefore the Kiddusha Didei, because since she was betrothed, and so therefore, unlike the Shemeres Yavam, where it came from the husband, and so therefore, and Sokun al Yadu, and also if she has adultery, she gets punished severely. Umar Ali Malay Shemeres Yavam, whereas Rabbi Yoshaya says the Shemeres Yavam is going to be considered like a complete wife, Dulo Michasra Misir al Chuppah, because she's completely married. She's not missing Misir al Chuppah. He doesn't need to do a kedushin with her. Meaning to say, he doesn't need to do any action. The Arusa needs to take him to the chuppah. But the Yavam is like his wife right away, just as long as he does bia. He doesn't need to be done l'shem chuppah. Even if just as bia in general, it's considered like they're married. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yonasan, who says that both Arusa and Shemeres Yavam don't drink the bitter waters. Hi Ishish Mayavile. What does he do with the words Ishish? It's coming to include the wife of a Sotah, the wife of a Cheresh, and the wife of a Shiamum, meaning to say this person has gone also insane. Rashi says Lakoi b'timon lev. He's got mental incapacitated. So such a person that the Bezdin can warn them in the place of the husband, and then she would have to, the Bezdin can warn them. Rabbi Oshaya, who says that Shomeres Yavam is also included in the drinking. Hi Tachas Isha, my Avilay. What does he do with these words in place of her husband, that she has to be under her husband, my Avilay, because he says that the Shomeres Yavam also drinks. So what does he do? Rabbi Yonasan had said it excludes the Shomeres Yavam. What does Rabbi Yoshaya do? My Avilay, mi baile la'akish ish le'isha, mi isha le'ish. It's coming to include, to compare a man to a woman and a woman to a man. That is coming to tell us, so we compare a woman that they have the same law, that just like the man who's blind cannot give his wife to drink, so too if the woman is blind, she doesn't drink. So Gemara says, what's the reason why we don't give the Arusa to drink? Because the Ksive Anikra, because these verses are written. But without these verses, Havamina Arusa Shati, I would say the betrothed woman would drink. But when Rabbi Acha Bar Chanina came from the south, also they brought a Mishnah in his hand, and it says, Mi Biladei Ishech. And it says that her husband already had relations with her. And this teaches us that the law of giving the Sotah to drink, that's only when the husband slept with her before her adulterer did, but not if the adulterer slept before the husband. And so we see from here that this is the reason why we don't give the Arusa to drink. So why do we have to learn it from the other verses? No, we're talking about a case where the aros, the betrothed, had already been with her in her father's home. So Gemara says, well, that can't be the case. The kavasi gabe shomeres yavam. But what about the case of the shomeres yavam? Could go in Shabbat Yavam bebeis Chamia. Let's say if the Yavam had been with her in her father-in-law's house, Ha Shomeres Yavam Karislay. That's Shomeres Yavam. That's Ishto Mal Yasi. Then she would be her full wife. Damarav Kana Lakol. That if a Yavam and a Yavama had relations, she's like his wife for everything. So the Gemara says, what are we talking about here? Kishmuel, the Amar, Lo Kana Al Advarma Murim B'Parsha. Shmuel says that under those circumstances, she's only going to be married to him for those things that are listed in the passage of Yibam, meaning to say that he inherits her possessions of, we might have thought that he inherits her brother, her husband's first husband's estate. She doesn't need chalitza. If that's the case, why don't we say that Rav holds like Rabbi Yoshaya and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yonasan? So the Gemara says, Rav would say, Anadami Afilu Rabbi Yonasan. I would say even like Rabbi Yonasan, we call the Ishta Mal Yasi. I would say even like Rabbi Yonasan, who says the Shomeres Yavam doesn't drink. And what does the pasuk need to teach us? This we call the Ishta Mal Yasi. That teaches us without this verse, we might have said that she was a complete wife. That's what we might have thought. Shmuel Amar Anada on top of Chafayim and Shmuel says, I say I feel like Rabbi Yosha. The Israel Kral or Buye, we call the Lav Ishta Klal. And from the fact that we need the pasuk to teach us this teaches us that she's not like his wife at all. So the Gemara will stop here for the daf for the recording, and this will be the daf for Shabbos.